Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And folks, it's snowing in New York, which is actually quite shocking because we haven't had a significant snow like this in 2 years. So, quick programming update. Today's show is only going to be about 90 minutes. I got to get out of here by 1:30 because Mrs. Boom is getting let out of work early because Mother Nature has dumped nearly half a foot of snow and we're expecting more. So they're closing her offices. And, obviously I got to go and get her. So 1:30 out the door. But look, we have two crazy powerful topics to get into. We have an amazing panel that's here to answer the questions. One of the topics comes the way of absolutely astounding community member known as Jamie Moran. He put something out on the socials that I thought was a brilliant point of conversation. And of course, well, the big topic today, which is going to be the second half of the show, is the official announcement yesterday of the Xbox podcast, which is going to have have guests, and those guests are going to be Sarah Bond, Bill Spencer, and Matt Booty, the three bigs, as you will. And we're going to get into kind of the conversation of what we expect them to say, but we're also going to get into the conversation, folks, of what we think they need to say, how they have to talk to us, not through us. So we'll get into that in a second. But Steel Rain, what's going on, my brother? Great show on Saturday. I was in the chat. I was chopping it up with you and Pong. How you feeling, man?
Man, it's always great to be back in the Xbox Factor kingdom. And boom, to be quite honest, I've just been hell diving into these Grand Blue fantasies while relinking for democracy. If you don't know, I've just been in between hell divers, Grand Blue Fantasy relink. I'm about level 22 or so in there. Really great JRPG type game, action based. Really dope game, especially if you're into anime and whatnot. And then Helldivers, I can't say enough about it. I'm
great game, dude.
Really glad to see the success that it's having. Unfortunately, with it not being everywhere, everybody can't partake, but I do think it's a step in the right direction, at least for PlayStation, what they got going on. Although, certain games get overlooked when they have server issues day one, and then other games, you just got to crucify them before they even release. So it's weird how that works, but it seems extremely
gaming media at its finest. Is that what we're suggesting, sir?
Stroking my chin here, pondering my next moves. No, but anyway, it's wonderful to be here. Glad you let me in. Again, I got the room set up, big TV on the wall. We're gonna get to the podcasting, man. Got some great conversation to have, man. So, and we got Umbra in the house, the fellow brother. Let's go, man.
Indeed, we absolutely do. Yeah, I've been playing, obviously, quite a few games. Helldivers 2, I hit level 6. Phenomenal game. I mean, really, really good. But obviously, this is an Xbox podcast. So what have I been playing on Xbox? Suicide Squad, one of my favorite games of the year so far. What I am playing and what I am reviewing, and now that I can say it out publicly, is Focus Entertainment and Don't Nod. Recognized Double Barrel Gaming, and they sent me a review code for Banisher's Ghosts of New Eden, and it's really freaking good. I mean, I can give you an early, quick shot. I'm like a couple of hours in, maybe about 5 hours in.
Yeah, how you feeling?
It is Don't Nod does not miss. The writing is spectacular. Okay. The graphics are gorgeous. It's really good. So that's what I've been playing. Like I said, go. I just tweeted some of the pictures. I put out a small little video, about a minute worth of gameplay. Check it out. It's $60. It's a $60 title in an era where everything is $70 and above. And this is, again, it's a really good. It's everywhere. It's PlayStation, Xbox, PC. I'm playing it on the Series X. Looks gorgeous. But yeah, listen, my official review will come out as soon as I beat the game. I'm kind of just trying to take my time and enjoy the game, as well as give you a full-on review that you can obviously trust and respect. But Infinite Umbra, what's going on, brother? Is it snowing in Chi-Town, sir?
Fortunately not. No, it's pretty decent here. We
Okay.
are in the 30s though. But other than that, no, we're all right. But you seem you happy about the snow, huh?
Of course. Are you kidding me? We got half a foot already. This is great.
You over there singing, "Let it snow, let it snow,
We should have
let
got
it
this during the
snow."
holidays. This is what I hate about this. It was in
Yeah.
February, but
Oh, the weather outside is frightful. No,
Well,
we no, we're clear over here right now. It's a little chilly, but it's other than that, we're okay, which is good. I mean, this is winter for us in Chicago. This is very pleasant, so I'll take
nice.
it. But
Nice,
no,
nice.
as far as me, man, I have been playing a few things. I hadn't got to Hell Divers 2, but I did pick it up. I decided to grab it for the PS5 because I saw how it was apparently like having disconnect issues, I guess, on PC.
yeah, server
Yeah,
issues. Just having
there's
server
a
issues.
couple things with the drivers. There's a few things
AMD.
depending on what cards you're the AMD versus the
Yeah,
Intel. I know that
it's some type of
Pong was saying that
file they
him
put in
and
your
Mav were having issues
anti
with the
cheat something thing. What's that anti cheat thing I
No,
heard
that's
about?
not the thing that's causing the issue. People just don't like that form of anti-cheat. Be fair, I've never seen that version of anti-cheat either.
Okay.
So it was really weird when I first saw it pop up. But the main issue has been seemingly people with AMD builds, AMD graphic cards mainly, are having crashing issues in the middle of a game. Sometimes it's extremely consistent. Other times you'll go a couple hours and then it'll crash mid game. They've been ironing that stuff out. They still haven't got it fixed. I know some people were out there saying that they have, but no, they're having server issues as well. It's not consistent in the game. You need to be able to connect to the server to sign in. Period. So it just makes it inconvenient. It breaks some elements of the game sometimes,
Mm,
but
mm.
it doesn't take away from the fun of the game. I still think it's about an 8 out of 10. So
Okay. Yeah, I definitely want to get into it. I have to find a little squad to jump in with me. But yeah, I've been seeing nothing but clips online and it looks pretty dope to me. But played a bit of Call of Duty with that blue number. Me and her played that. She carried me because I'm terrible at Call of Duty. And Power World. I'm trying to get that last achievement. I had the setback, right? Because I'm trying to make it as short as I can. I got to work and I was like, okay, I'm going to play some Power World and collect them, collect them all. Man, I loaded that in there and somehow, because you can install it locally too. So I installed it, loaded it up, but I clicked on load up the previous synced file.
Oh,
So when I did that, it took me from level 42 back to level 30.
Jesus Christ.
And it took away everything I had helped. My friend helped me build and everything in that world. I had a nice little plantation and all of it. All of that is gone. And now I have one last achievement, which is collect 90 pals. That's the last one I had. Almost deleted the game because when I got home, I tried to maybe I can recoup it when I get home. Nope, still level 30. And I was so annoyed. But yeah, enough of that. But yeah, shout out to Pal World. But yeah, happy to be here with you, gentlemen, today. Good morning to you both.
Good morning to you as well. I'm glad to have you here, brother. We're gonna get we're gonna get right into it. I think again this the first topic of the day, and again but this is gonna be a shorter show. I got to pick up Mrs. Boom. They're closing her job a little early today, so I got to get out of here by 1:30. So 90-minute shows, folks. It's only half an hour difference. And listen, it's gonna be a great show nonetheless. But the first topic that I want to bring up comes the way of community member Jamie Moran. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Jamie's work. He's been a guest on my show numerous times. He put out a tweet that currently has almost 38,000 views. It has 580 likes, almost 100 retweets, and 54 comments. And it was more of a statement, it was a statement / question. So this is what he said, folks. And again, not the big topic of the day. We're going to get into the big topic of the day momentarily, but I think this is a great way to kind of, wait for, get our juices flowing about what we're going to talk about. He says this, folks. You always see, in parentheses, journalists saying things like, would be great to see this Xbox game on PlayStation and Nintendo. Yet those same people never say things like, hey, shouldn't these PlayStation games go to Xbox because, well, sharing is caring? And I have to say that, yes, it is indeed sus. What I find even more funny, where this is where the hilarity comes in, is many of the people, quote unquote, port begging, as it will, or as it were, are the same ones that said Xbox is trash. Xbox has no games, but yet they all want their games on PlayStation and Nintendo. You know what I find to feel interesting, Steele? I kind of wonder that when, it's not even if anymore, a Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, or
Mhm.
a Sea of Thieves go over to PlayStation and they need those reviews, right? And they go over to the Switch, whether that's a Switch Current or Switch 2 or both, who knows? But just wonder if magically, because they have this shine of being on a PlayStation, are they going to be reviewed better by the same people that, well, of course, who Jamie is talking about? Again, not the big topic of the show, but it's an interesting talking point. Why does the journalistic community that's supposed to have integrity, which we know that they don't, uh, want games on PlayStation from Xbox, want games on Nintendo Switch from Xbox, but can't seem to ever ask the question? I wonder if they would ever port that Miles Morales over to Xbox because,
Mhm.
well, Sony could make more money the same way Nintendo could, or the way Xbox is looking to make more money. Pretty interesting thought and theory. But what is yours, Steel Rain?
Um, Man, that's always a foreboding question of why is Xbox expected to be okay with this, but then other platforms aren't? And it's definitely a very valid question. My main pushback to that is Xbox, comparatively to the other two, in gaming at very least, is the little brother. Has been pushed into a corner to where they have to fight to cut deals. They have to fight to make their voice be heard, because money doesn't always answer everything. Although that's what a lot of people believe. Oh, it's Microsoft. They can do whatever they want. If they really wanted this, that at the time, oh, they could have did it. Again, Power On documentary. I'm gonna continue to preach about it. If you want to say that's just advertising, they're just wanting to make it seem a certain way. Again, from all the information that we've been able to uh, extrapolate from out of the industry, right? Because a lot of it is secretive. And again, Sony has is at a standpoint to where they don't talk. Nintendo doesn't talk to us, but Xbox does, and Xbox has done nothing but prove, or at least, excuse me, demonstrate that doing things the traditional way is not working. And again, you can't say, and like I also understand the conversation where, oh well, Xbox has all of these things now, and they got more than they've ever had before, and now they're expected to share with people. Like, look, I get where you're coming from, and I hear what you're saying. The biggest thing about this though is that, and we talked about this on a week to week basis, if the console market has plateaued at some level, right? PlayStation is never going to sell as many consoles as Nintendo does, no matter what they do, right? So it's going to go back and forth between PlayStation and Xbox. And if we just want to have interchangeable generations, then great. But I think that we can have that in a very different manner because things have changed. Hardware has changed. Technology has changed. We don't look at games the same way that we used to, right? And as great as it would be to leave a lot of these games exclusive, even PlayStation is releasing games on day and date on PC now, for an example, with Helldivers 2. Like, Helldivers is a great game, but if that game was limited to PlayStation, and again, I know the numbers are out there showing that people on PlayStation are buying and they're playing, which is great to see. But what helps influence that is when you open it to that wider base, which is why I will always say multiplayer games are always going to be a different conversation for me, as far as, especially when it comes to Xbox sharing, just because I have more faith in their platform, their ecosystem, and their service level, than I do on for any other competitor that's in this space. Now, I also don't think that Microsoft is being forced to do this. There's a lot of different plays at hand that I can understand why the average gamer, or even the enthusiast gamer who has grown up with this and seen things happen a certain way, why they'll be a little bit skeptical about this direction. It is completely up to Xbox and Microsoft to decide how you're going to pitch this, to correct your verbiage, and to make sure that you're leading your consumers down a path that they can understand. That's just the number one thing about business. Now, again, I can ask the same question of why is Xbox the only one where we can complain that they don't talk, or when they do talk, but we don't have that same level of conversation for anybody else in the industry. So it works both ways. It's just right now, I think Microsoft is trying to change how we look at gaming, how the industry is. Again, we don't question these things with Netflix, Hulu, or any of these other services. And if that's not competition, then what is Game Pass not competition either? Is the potential of that not competition? Is PlayStation Now not competition? Didn't PlayStation create their own tier system as an answer to what Xbox created? And matter of fact, they even had it before they did and did nothing with it because they didn't believe in it the way that Xbox felt that they needed to. So, and again, if one side is saying that, hey, the traditional way of us doing things isn't working, and I hear nothing but people say, oh, but we need to do things the traditional way because Microsoft has more than they've ever had. Just because you have more doesn't mean it's going to work more all of a sudden. That PlayStation has been the number one player in the industry and they've had more. They've had the opportunity to do all of this and it's not happening. So what is the other answer? Well, we're moving digital. We're getting more access than ever before. And I do foresee Xbox and Microsoft going more of that PC route and allowing us to have access in ways that we didn't before. So it's like, when I'm at least stepping back and looking at the bigger picture, I think that's why maybe I'm not as critical about them wanting or sharing or going into this idea of timed exclusivity or whatever the case may be, and then handing it out to other platforms, because what's going to end up happening is that it's going to form other forms of competition. Other spaces have done something similar already. Again, Xbox should not be releasing games, especially the single player games, day and date to any other platform. But when it comes to this live service, and that's what we're moving into, there's more things to take in consideration: people's time, effort, the amount of money that you got to put into it. Y'all want good games still, right? These guys are going to have to somewhat play, and they've always have. That's the funny thing about this. They're in competition with each other, mainly Microsoft and PlayStation, which is, I think, why they're going to maybe changing the conversation with some of the hardware rumors that we've been hearing to get Nintendo back involved. But nonetheless, there's just, with them two being in a competition, there's just different levels of what is happening on both sides. And I think Microsoft is just trying to push that, Xbox is trying to push that forward, which is, it comes with a little bit of sacrifice up front. And I think that's why you end up having this conversation of, oh, why does Xbox have to share, but PlayStation doesn't? I mean, PlayStation is not in a position to have to. Microsoft is. Xbox is. And if you think that that destroys the platform, to me, I don't think that you're a true fan of Xbox. I don't think that you're a true fan of Microsoft. To me, I'm not going to downplay you, say you're not one, but to me, because of how long I've supported the platform, how long I've been in the ecosystem, and the moves that I see them making, again, they have to do what is right for me because I see the value in the current ecosystem that I'm in. And if they continue to play to that, I'm in the belief right now that I see no reason, unlike all the other comparisons that get brought up to, like, oh, the Windows Phone and this and Mixer and all that. In comparison, there is much more of a larger commitment to get this done and support it properly than any of their other projects. I don't think they're going to drop it. Again, we're hearing more. If we're going to believe all the other rumors or start having conversations about that, when we're hearing rumors also about Phil going around, doubling down, sending emails, CCing that, hey, we're still making hardware, what more information do you need? That's just the way that I'm looking at it currently. So that's why I think that conversation ends up happening.
No, I mean,
there's a different ideology happening.
I think the ideology is sound. I think that again, look, we were talking in the green room, folks. The one thing that I think we have to do is like I've been gaming since '78, folks. Like I'm long in the tooth, right? There's no doubt about it. Probably the longest tooth in the whole mouth for many of the circles I roll in, and that's fine. So I have to understand the same way I had to understand, and it took me years to to get with the program of physical versus digital. Like I was a physical guy through and through. I had shelves and I mean, you saw some of the stuff I got in storage, and it's a lot of it's worth a lot of money because well, they're rare. But I was a physical guy for years, and I had to eventually understand that you don't have the shelf space for as many games as systems I support, and it's digital. A library is kind of cool to have because you can have thousands of games, which I do on my hard drives. It's great. Um, and this is one of those instances where we have to understand for like specifically for Game Pass. Now, I like I said, I have a feeling for me personally that there are certain sacred cows that just shouldn't find their way onto another platform. I'm sorry. I don't know if I ever get away from that. I don't see a Halo, a
That's
Gears,
fair.
or a Forza. That's just my stubbornness. Maybe that's my console warrior in me trying to fight, to burst out. I don't know, but like the same way I would never expect to see a Mario game on an Xbox. I just
Well,
wouldn't.
Mario doesn't have good multiplayer though.
No, he doesn't. I mean, unless you like silly stuff like for instance, I play all the time with Mario
Mario
Kart or
Party.
Mario Party is another one.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, so but like even like some of the stuff where like for instance, I do not see a world, at least now, where Helldivers, big success for Sony, big success for the studio, it's a small studio, that they would be in a rush to try and get that over to Xbox. They just
Mhm.
wouldn't. So it is a two-way door. It appears that the third place platform is expected to bow down and give its wares because you're in third place, where they're almost in a position, if we wait and give their new IPs a chance to breathe, could bring new players that are going to look across the way and be like, yo, that Hellblade 2, I can't wait for that to come to PlayStation 5. Well, I'm sorry, what? It's not coming to PlayStation 5. Well, I guess I gotta, dust off the $5,000 rig they all said they had, or go out and buy an Xbox. One or the other. Umbra, Steel Rain knocked it out of the park. Hard to follow up what he had to say, but I'm interested to get your opinion on Jamie Moran's particular point here. Why is it that journalists, and he used the quotes, and I guess he's being facetious as I would if I was writing this, journalists or journos for short, as the kids like to say, why is it okay for Xbox games to be assumed that they should go over to PlayStation and to Nintendo, but when you ask the other, you turn the question around, and it's like, "Whoa, peasants, they can't get our games." I mean, John Campea did say that Xbox players are second-class citizens, didn't you, John?
Mhm.
He sure did. He sure did. Talk about it, man.
Yeah, I mean, think Steel hit it on the head mostly. I mean, I don't know what else to add to it except for that it's always been a kind of pervasive thought that anything Xbox is not sacred and it could be everywhere.
Yeah.
But anything else on PlayStation and Nintendo has to stay on those platforms. And I think it's because, a lot of these game journalists, they kind of look at, and that feeds into the narrative, by the way, of the whole Xbox tax, but it feeds into that because a lot of those guys happen to be Nintendo or PlayStation fanboys. They're never going to admit it, and people will give them more credibility because they happen to be journalists than anything else, ignoring that they can also be fanboys. But that's what it comes down to. PlayStation is kind of the de facto console, right? So you're not going to look at that and be like, oh, those games need to go to Xbox. And then you got Nintendo, which is on its own island. So people are like, of course, Mario is never leaving the Mushroom Kingdom to come over to Earth 2552 with the Chief. So that's the problem. And it is hypocrisy. It is ridiculous, and it's always again something that Xbox gamers have to deal with and hear about. It's never the other way around, and it is tiresome. I agree with that. So I don't know what else to add to it really, other than it's just a tired thought. And but I guess with the news we're about to hit Thursday, I suppose is apropos.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get into that because that's the big topic of the show, folks. Like I was saying to Steele and the opening as you got here, the question of the day for that particular topic is going to be what you are hoping that they say as a fan, like what your expectations are. But then I want to kind of I want to position the question with a part B. What do they need to say? We will get to that in a moment. Let me just catch up on super chats, folks. We have a new channel member, Paul Brook. Welcome, Paul. Thank you so much for joining the channel. That is super cool of you. Definitely appreciate the support. Highlander 001. My goodness, this dude is just amazing. He's the gift that keeps giving. He has donated, folks, another 5 double barrel gaming memberships. That is so freaking kind of you, bro. I don't even know what else to say, but thank you. Honestly, that is tremendous. Andre Doyle drops a very generous $2 super chat and says Microsoft will show us the future of gaming. Oh, let's certainly hope so, Andre. Thank you for the $2 super chat and of course always being here. Sir Riffs a Lot drops a very generous $2 super chat and says Xbox going PC, PlayStation. I'm not a PC guy. I'm a console guy, which is why I own all three. The other, like I said, I'm not ashamed to say the other day I spent over $170 on PlayStation 5. I bought the deluxe edition of Helldivers 2. Not sorry that I did. And the only issues that I've personally has, I couldn't get into a game for the entire Sunday, which sucked because I really wanted to play it, but you know the servers were having issues. It's fine. And I bought Final Fantasy Rebirth because the first part was dope. I got to finish it. I got to hurry up and finish it so I can play the second part. But they get my money, and they got my money because those are 2 exclusives. The exclusives matter, Xbox. I know you're listening, but I'll leave that for another show. Let me not get slanderous. Steel, I'm going to go right back to you, brother. Look. To say that the last, if you go Saturday to Saturday, which of course you had your show on Saturday, and you and Pong had a phenomenal conversation about this. What happened in the Xbox community was a lot. I'll say that there was a lot of fighting. There were a lot of pointing,
a lot of inroads.
A lot of stuff that you normally don't see in the Xbox community, to be quite frank. A little disappointing to watch. No names here, folks. We don't do that. I get quiet. Like when I start to see that kind of stuff, I don't pick a side. I'm Sweden. I stay neutral because I'm 53 years old, folks. And I used to chase guys with guns for a living. I'm not getting in the middle of that kind of shenanigans. If you guys, if people want to fight, I just let them go at it. You know, someone's going to be the victor, I guess, in their own mind. Me, I just like, look, let them. I have my opinion. I'm going to stay with my opinion. I'm going to let people do their thing. But we learned yesterday, midway through the show of the Xbox show that I have on Mondays, the Xbox Lunch Break Special. Thanks to Gamsley, of course, who is a newly added panel member. We got the information that on Thursday at 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern, we are getting a update to the what the future of Xbox looks like. Now, we've been waiting on this. We didn't know who it was going to be. We didn't know how they were going to position this. Was it going to be Satya Nadella? Was it going to be Phil? Where a lot of people had concerns about poor Sarah potentially getting thrown under the bus to get out there and give this bad news. I honestly didn't think that, but I did have some concerns. Well, folks, it turns out that on the new episode of the official Xbox podcast, which of course is run by Xbox, that's Jeff Rubenstein and the lady from IGN. What I always forget her name, Tina Matini, I believe that's how you say it. Is it Tina Matini? Is that who it is?
Unfortunately, I don't tune into the
I'm sorry. She used to work with IGN. She's great. She's a great host at that show. I apologize for not knowing the name. I'm a terrible host. I should have had it in front of me. And that is a show that is run specifically by Xbox. What's interesting, what I think is thought perplexing, if you will, is the fact that the three bigs are going to be there to answer all of our questions, hopefully.
Right.
Phil Spencer is going to be there. He is the head of Microsoft Gaming. We know that, of course, Sarah Bond is president of Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we know that all of the gaming studios report to Matt Booty. He handles the games aspect of the division.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is a brilliant move. I think having all three of them there goes, at least for me, Steele, how important this particular show is. Now, it's not a showcase, it is a podcast. It is going to be pre recorded, obviously. It's not going to be a live show like this. But I think having all three of them there does at least frame the picture that they understand that there is a tremendous amount of uncertainty with the Xbox community. Now, I'm going to be frank with you. I don't know what to expect other than I'm hoping clear and a concise direction of what exclusives mean. Are there any sacred cows left for Xbox? Because again, the reports were pretty all over the place. We went from simply Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush to basically everything in the kitchen sink. Good Gears of
Right.
War, Halo, Indiana Jones. They figured, you know what?
Rumors.
F it. Let's
No,
just put
rumors.
everything. I don't agree with that, and I don't think I'm ever going to. You're ever going to win me over to agree with that. I think there
Mhm.
are sacred cows. And I'm going to say that once again, if you get bored of it, I apologize. It's the three pillars. It is Gears, it's Halo, and it's Forza. Those are the three pillars that hold the brand up. And I think that right now they're starting to build other pillars that have the potential to be platform defining, meaning that when you think of this game, even though it's available on PC
Mhm.
Steel, that it's an Xbox game. I think Indiana Jones
Mm.
has that possibility. I think Perfect Dark has that possibility. I think that when you look and Fable is definitely a part of that conversation.
Mhm.
Hellblade 2 should be a part of that conversation. I mean, there were a few. I mean, Clockwork Revolution, we've seen it. We don't know fully what the game is, but I think that we can it's suffice to say that that game is going to be a banger. And
Mhm.
In Exile doesn't miss. And it's a new first person steampunk BioShock-esque kind of game.
Mhm.
That could be one of those games that are genre defining, right?
Mhm.
Um so listen, I've been long-winded. I apologize. I just kind of wanted to frame it for you, Steele.
That's perfect.
The two questions that I have for you as an
Mhm.
Xbox dude, as we were talking in the green room, right? What do you want them to tell you? And the second part of it is a bit of a caveat. What do they need to tell us?
All right. What do I want and what do they need? So I think first off that what I want them to do is to be concise in their messaging. I think the number one thing is, to your point, Boom. Unfortunately, I don't think that there is a universe where any of the games that Xbox releases are going to be seen as Xbox games. The reason for that, they're on PC. The era of games being just recognized by one device is over. At least for what I see from what Microsoft is doing. And I think that's the thing that's scary for a lot of people, the thought of that even happening. But we can't be okay with games being coming to PC and saying, oh well, that's different. Although we're starting to see more and more PC like things happening. The hardware devices becoming more of an access point, or at least accessible as far as pricing goes, and they're still pretty high, even considering. But it's an enthusiast thing, right? And I think Xbox also sees that, but they also see where the generation is, right? They have to find a way, like they did with me. Xbox was very fortunate during my generation, the multiplayer era, that that's what they were good at, right? Sure they had Halo, sure they had Gears, sure they had Forza, and all those games played, felt, and were some of the or I should say, the greatest games that I have even played, top 10 type. But the main thing that has always kept me to Xbox and why I will always have a heart for that ecosystem is the services side of everything. They introduced me to party chats. They introduced me to how I can keep my saves moving forward and not have to think about that and it not be taken as I don't have to consider those things. It just works. Where I go to other ecosystems and I look at them and I'm within them and I'm like, why doesn't it have these things? I start looking at other things very weird and side-eyed. And it's like, this feels kind of off-brand, almost, for lack of a better way to put it. Maybe this feels a couple generations behind or third worldish in some ways, right? Where I don't know if they're with the time. You said this is Sony. I don't know, man. This doesn't feel like Sony that I remember. They sold those PS2s, right? It was a generational thing. I needed that. And I think that's the main thing that they need to find out what is their messaging now. I do think that Phil's going to end up coming out and establishing that Game Pass is the platform now. It's not just Xbox anymore. I think that might be part of the heart-crushing news that we get. I hope that's not the case. I hope that Xbox moves forward. But we're seeing labeling being taken away and we're seeing other adjustments be made that really kind of make me feel weird about it. As far as that goes, for sure, because I don't want to see the Xbox branding go away, right? I still want that to be on the hardware. I don't want to see Microsoft Game Pass hardware on. That just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't sound good. So that would be the one thing that I would be like, oh man, that is messed up. Now you really, I don't think that you truly understand what you're doing with that. But again, I don't think that that's what's going to end up happening here. What I want is for them to find other ways to establish how they're going to make this move going forward. And for people to still care about their ecosystem somehow. And again, I know a lot of this just goes right back into messaging, but I think that's the number one thing that I could ask for, because everything that we've seen throughout this week, over the last few weeks, honestly, has just been driven by rumors, and the amount of eyes that have been attracted to these rumors or happenstances or lack of clear vision is going to potentially hit you pretty hard up front. And if they don't figure out a way to kind of, I don't necessarily want them to dance around it. I need them, again, I need them to be concise and let them know what the vision is. What do I think that they're going to end up doing? I think that was the second part of your question. Correct me if I'm wrong, Boom.
Yeah, I mean, the question was, what do you want them to then? Obviously, you gave a great point, but the second part of the question is, what do they need?
What do they need? There you go. Thank you. What do they need to do? They need to show people that they're not going anywhere, that their hardware, they need to give I don't know, an exclusive look at the hardware, whatever their plans is. I think that'll be the easiest ways to quell people's fears, because I think the thought of them possibly having two different pieces of hardware like they did this generation, except instead of like a Series S, you have a handheld, like dockable device that like we're seeing with our ROG allies and other accessories that are, or other hardware that's similar. They need to establish what their future plan, and again, it's that roadmap. You've delivered some of that with the games, but now you need to give me a roadmap, or at least give the people a roadmap, or why they should believe in the hardware still. Is their library going anywhere? What's going on with this whole digital content? How about the hard copies? You guys put out information this week that you were some time ago that you were minimizing a lot of that. You let people go. You just let 1,900 people go after, you kind of clarified with the FTC that wasn't going to be something that you needed to do. So what's going on? What's happening? What is the, not necessarily the truth, because I know they're not going to always tell us that regardless, but, and I feel like this just goes into the first point. They need, and I want them to just be very clear with their messaging, because at the end of the day, for me, I have many reasons to be invested in the ecosystem, invested in the platform, to have faith in it. I don't see it being thrown away as some people fear. And as long as they quell that, then I think a lot of the other points are kind of become null and void, right? if they make sure to solidify the fact that they're going to be here for the future, that your library is going to be okay, I don't think that I think that's the main point that they got to make sure they hit home. So
Now, do you think that there should be some sort of an, because one of the big takeaways from a lot of the conversations, and some of them were a little bit more than conversations, they were
mhm,
arguments,
right,
was regarding the what exclusivity looks like. Like
mhm,
you and I understand what exclusivity is because,
right,
well, we're dinosaurs, and we have been
yeah,
taught to understand that box A plays
exactly,
games 1, 2,
mhm,
and 3. Box B plays games 4, 5, and 6.
right,
That's how we've always seen consoles, because we grew up with the Genesis does what Nintendo don't kind of era.
right,
That's
exactly,
right.
exactly,
That's what we know. Now, that's not the same. That's not to say that exclusives aren't important. And I think that there's something to be said about certain exclusives define your brand, and it
for sure.
gets people to distinguish your brand from one from the other.
Mhm.
Like, you understand, when you think of Kratos, or you think of Aloy, or you think of
Yeah, for sure.
Twisted Metal, you're thinking about a PlayStation console, regardless of
Mhm.
whatever it is, 1 through 5, whatever. Same thing with Nintendo. When you think of Donkey Kong, when you think of Princess Peach, when you
Right.
think of Luigi, you can have a host of games. You can have Mario Party, Mario Kart. You can have Luigi's Mansion.
Mhm.
They have a Peach game coming out, for crying out loud, in March. So I mean, that's how you define. When you look at Xbox, some of the things that people wanted over on other platforms have always been defined with that box. Halo, Master Chief is a icon. He is
Mhm.
he is Xbox. Now they haven't done now Halo Infinite is just literally phenomenal. It's one of the best multiplayer shooters out there. No questions asked. Um, but it wasn't always the case. They kind of failed, and they had to kind of build the fan base up. But you think of Gears, you think of Marcus Phoenix, you think about the first time you saw,
Mhm.
any of those creatures coming out of the dark, and you're like, I got a chainsaw gun. This is amazing, right? Those,
Right.
those are experiences that you look and you equate with the Xbox. And I know that there's some blurry lines here. So what's exclusive, what's not? Do they need to kind of define that?
Um, they needed to define what exclusives mean to them. All right, whether
That's a good
that's
point.
timed exclusivity or whether that's Game Pass exclusivity, whether that's what is your version of exclusivity. If you're truly going to change the way that people look at games, then you have to change the idea of what it means to be exclusive. Or does that idea of that start going away? Or is it exclusive to your platform? Right, like that's what they would have to clear up, because at the end of the day, I mean, I do agree with you in many ways, Boom. But just in that same fact, Gears could be a 12 out of 12 game, and it's not going to expand beyond the base.
Yeah.
It needs to expand farther than that, especially on the multiplayer side. And again, I'm all for, hey, if single player content, we want to remain that being exclusive to the ecosystem, or whichever case, that is a great selling point. Hey, you jumped into this maybe on the multiplayer side, free to play, whatever the case may have been, and then, oh man, I like this so much. What's the story like? Oh man, now I got characters that I really like that. Oh, what about these guys? Oh man, maybe I need to go get a subscription to Xbox and figure out what's going on in these other stores. Oh man, there's an RTS version of this game. Oh, a Gears Tactics. Oh man, I didn't even know that existed. That's how you get people involved. Just trying to get them to buy a platform for a game. Again, Gears is great and all, but unfortunately, the way that I used to look at games and the way that people today look at games, unless you're a known IP or Power World or Helldivers 2, and even that is still appealing to a certain audience, you have to expand out. And how do you decide how is that labeled as exclusivity to you? Because again, for me, ever since we put stuff on PC, where is the exclusivity? Because it doesn't make you can't say, oh, it's exclusive to Xbox, but it's on PC. Well, it's exclusive to the ecosystem. So we've already started that conversation unknowingly, kind of in the back of our head. Well, and we just accepted it. But it's a big deal when PlayStation starts to do it. Although, isn't it just part of their ecosystem now? We can't separate it for them all of a
Interesting.
sudden now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, how does that work? It's for me, it's the consistency. They are going to have to answer, what is your consistency? Where is it? And what is going to be the messaging moving forward? Because obviously there's been maybe too many conversations of too many people involved, too many people with a key to the door behind the scenes that they could kind of say, oh man, well, you could have just did these things. Or like people in the community have been saying, oh man, well, if Xbox really cared, they would have put a message out there. Oh, if any of this stuff wasn't true, they would have put a message out there. Microsoft is a $3 trillion company. They do not need to answer when you want them to answer. Matter of fact, the majority don't even know about what's going on outside of their friends, that's the problem. But if Microsoft doesn't see that as a problem and they need to get their messaging together, what do you want? Do you want their messaging to be together? You want them to answer you as fast as possible. It's just, for me, that's the conundrum that I end up running into, and that's up to Microsoft to fix. Hopefully that's what the answer this Thursday.
No, I mean, it's fantastic answer to what I thought was a pretty pointed question. Real good work, as always, Steele. Listen, Umbra, before we get to you, brother, let's welcome in the 750 people here. Wow, that's awesome. Folks, if you are enjoying the banter and maybe you're finding the channel for the first time, please, for the love of Jehovah, consider subscribing, because I do this 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. All great panels, all great conversations. You know what we won't do? We're not gonna clickbait you or sell you hate or hate monger to get you in here. We have fun. We talk about it. The topics are well researched, and I love doing this. So consider subscribing. Real quick, I have a couple of super chats to get into. Simon Brandy drops a very generous £5 super chat. Simon, thanks so much for being here as always. He says, when Tomb Raider was Xbox exclusive, the media kicked off. It was if it was on PlayStation, there would have been no questions. The Xbox tax has existed for years. Yeah, I remember that particular when the two people from Crystal Dynamics were on stage. They were trying to actually get off stage, and the media would not let them go because they were all in a tizzy over the fact that this was a year exclusive. And obviously, infamously, Ryan McCaffrey obviously kind of stepped in it a little bit, where he was like, this is outrageous. How dare they take it away? And then just a couple of years later, he obviously stepped in it again when he said, this is great for PlayStation gamers, that Final Fantasy VII is not coming to Xbox. That's the tax that he's talking about. And that's just one human being. Again, Ryan is who he is, and it's fine. Take him, leave him, or otherwise. It's up to you. But the gaming media is a treacherous place to walk. A lot of landmines in the gaming media, and they are just motivated by clicks. So I see, the tax is real, folks. It is what it is. So Simon, thanks so much for the generosity, brother. J Mac, who has been a channel member for 27 months. Dude, that is crazy generous of you. Thank you for the outstanding support. He says these Xbox issues unfortunately exposed how many people in the community feel about one another, good, bad, or truth. Yeah, I saw some things, man, and they won't be repeated on this show, but I didn't like it. Even though, and again, I'm not going to get into it, folks. I'm just not. I'm too old for that shit. I hate to see it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I hate to see the infighting, but not everyone is going to get along. That's just a fact. That's human nature as a whole, not just an Xbox thing. It's unfortunate that it did happen with a lot of Xbox people, but you just try and navigate the waters the best you can. Gamer by Choice drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, as a lifelong Xbox consoler, I don't care if Xbox games go elsewhere as long as their business strategy doesn't make games skip the Xbox platform, which is 1,000%. A great point. I see a future where all games are everywhere eventually. Yeah, I mean, I look, you look at what happened with MLB The Show, and that wasn't a Sony choice. If Sony had it their way, it'd still only be on PlayStation, but they were strong-armed by MLB. MLB basically told them that if you don't make more money or you don't make this multi-plat, you're going to lose the license, which is why it is on Xbox. It is on Switch. I think the most perplexing thing, and I don't see anybody from the gaming media or even their own damn community, tooting the horn like, hey, this is This is made by our first party studio there, Sony, and it's on Game Pass. The best version is on Game Pass day and date, and we can't get it into our $160 service. I don't know. PlayStation community ask for better. I don't know what to say. Yeah, that's another bit of a conundrum, if you will. But it is what it is. Sir X-Men, good friend of the great friend of the program, actually. He says this after dropping a $2 super chat. Happy Valentine's Day to Laura Croft tomorrow. Yeah, I'm playing. I'm reviewing a game for the channel. And again, shout out to Don't Nod and Focus Entertainment for Banishers. But I want to play those Tomb Raider games. I bought it. They look so good. They're old. I get it, but I can definitely run through those games again. House Flan drops a very he's been a channel member for 6 months. So House Flan, thank you so much for the support. He says Fable is that fourth pillar, despite its absence. It's sacred. I absolutely agree. I think that is one of the quote unquote sacred cows, as you will. Highlander 001 drops a very generous additional $2 super chat and says there has been no physical games for PC for years. Yeah, you're right. I don't actually remember. Was it like 2006? Was it like 2000? I think the last actual physical game for PC might have been Doom, like one of the newer Dooms. I think that was actually the last one. A rocket scientist drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, doesn't matter what happens Thursday, I bleed green. Listen, I'm right there with you. I'm going to bleed green as well. But I do think that the reason why we're getting all three of them there is because there is importance behind what they're going to say. More importantly, how they're going to say it. JJ
I just wonder, how can they say it? I think.
Well, I mean, that's, you know what? Let's. I'll get to JJ saying 117 super chat in a second. Umber, let's bring you in, brother. This is a very interesting point that you have brought forth for me and Steel, and for of course, the nearly 800 people that are here.
Let's go with that like button.
How do they say it, and will we believe them? I don't know. Well, what? Okay, so let me repose the questions for you personally. What do you want them to tell you as an Xbox fan? Second part of the question is, what do they need to tell the fans?
It is really tough because we know by the fact of them having this meeting here and not disavowing that being the truth, that it's actually a thing, right? So they can't put that genie back inside the bottle, so to speak. I don't, as far as what I would want to hear, I would want to hear that if they are bringing any games over, that it would probably be something like, the multiplayer game. Sea of Thieves, as I've said before, makes sense. Mm-hmm. I think bringing something like Hi-Fi Rush over, that doesn't make as much sense. And my problem with it is more so this too. If you ask like, hey, well, why not Hi-Fi Rush? It's a small niche title to do well on Nintendo. Well, the problem is I don't think it's going to do that well at all. I don't even know if Sea of Thieves is going to do that well. And it's because they're so old and well, not so old for both, but they're old and they're not brand new to these platforms, at least as far as they're not fresh, I guess is what I should say. So the moment has kind of passed as far as them being important and at the moment, like when we got it, it's fresh, it's brand new. Oh, you got Sea of Thieves new content dropped. Everybody on Xbox has been playing this game for however many years this thing has been out, through the dry season to now. Now you have Shy with the Hi-Fi Rush and everything like that. How many people on Nintendo or PlayStation is really going to play that? You might have a few that might like, we got it over here. Xbox. That's about all I can see. But it feels like it's a waste because I don't think it's going to sell enough to warrant it even being on those platforms. That's the problem I have with it now. Mm-hmm. I guess like if they say future titles, for instance, if they talked about, I don't know, future ABK games, that would make sense to me because those are things to come. That's
well, I mean, they're a publisher, so and I think that makes perfect sense there, Umber.
That makes sense. But like I don't think it's going to sell enough to warrant even putting Hi-Fi Rush or Sea of Thieves on the platforms right now. So I don't really get the thought process behind that. You know what I mean? Like, sure, we can reason that Sea of Thieves makes sense, and I don't even have a problem with it going over there. But it just feels like, what are you going to get out of that? That's not really going to generate anything, I don't think, long term for them, for either of those games to be on the platform over there. So it's like, why even do that? You see what I mean? So I feel like it just defeats the purpose. So I feel like what I would like to hear them say is maybe they'll bring, maybe they rethought like the multiplayer games as far as anything like a Sea of Thieves or things like that. Like, I can see that because it's a multiplayer and it increases the player base, that makes logical sense, even though I don't think many people would still like invest in it over there. But that I could see making some sense. Maybe with the Nintendo Switch too, I guess I can kind of see it maybe kind of making some sense for Sea of Thieves if it's over there. I don't know. And I guess Hi-Fi Rush, I guess you can argue, well, that would do well on the new Switch that's coming out later this year. But I just feel like I don't think it's going to do well enough where it's like, oh yeah, we had to put this over there to get these sales, right? So I just feel like keep it multiplayer. Anything single player, whatever, keep it over here on Xbox. That's what I would kind of prefer to hear them say, if they're doing that at all, which they are. Let me quit saying if. We know it's happening. So that would be what I would want to hear. What was the second question? I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, what do they actually need to tell the fans? Because there's definitely a fine line of what we want and what they need. Because again, I think most Xbox fans, Xbox fans are in it for the long haul.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there is something to be said about a brand recognition. I won't go into it again, folks. I that's how I feel. I'm a dinosaur, so I get it. But what do they actually need to tell the people? Because look, I don't know what's going to happen on Thursday. None of us do. We can assume, right? Nobody in the chat, 800 people here. We don't know, right? We can assume what we think is going to happen. But whatever happened reached a pinnacle where they thought it was important enough to have this business update. Now, again, the wording to me is very strange. I get it's a business. I'm not a boob. I get it. It's a business. They got to make millions for the shareholders, and I'm not getting a piece of it. But I am still getting my games day and date. I think that for me, to kind of answer my own question, one of the things that cannot be touched in any way, shape, or form is
Halo.
how games are delivered to Game Pass.
Look, I said it's Halo.
No. I mean, listen. I don't think Halo would do good. I just don't. I think it would. I think
the novelty of it would possibly do originally okay.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
hey,
look,
we have this again. We got this over here now, right? But I don't know if it would do. How long that would sustain?
I wouldn't sustain it all. It just wouldn't. Listen, look. Here's the problem, folks. And then this isn't breaking news. This isn't something you haven't heard before from any of us. The problem with PlayStation players is that they don't even buy their own exclusives. They just don't. And Jim Ryan and many others before them have told us this. The numbers don't lie, folks. Sure. Are there a couple of 25 and 30 million sellers, i.e. God of War, i.e. Spider-Man 2018? Sure. Are there a few others that are close? Yes. But the truth of the matter is that when you compare how many consoles between PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 there are for some of these cross-gen releases that are first-party bangers, as the kids like to call them, they don't buy them. So why are we to think that they're going to go out and support an Xbox game? They just won't. So I think that there's some conversation there. But I think for me, the thing that has to be, I think, pointed, Steel and Umbra, is Game Pass day and date. That cannot change. That is your selling point. If you change that, you have lost your effing minds.
I feel like that might be a possibility that they say as well. Funny enough, I hope
there's no way.
I
If
hope
if
not.
they if they do that, then you've literally killed the number one thing that even sold your platform in the first
Yep.
place. Because again,
Yep.
you can't say I'm doing things differently and then go back to the way that people were doing it, knowing that that doesn't work. So it's like I really hope that that's not what ends up
Yeah.
happening, because again, there is no other play at that
That would
point.
destroy the brand. That would
Yeah, there's no
literally
other play.
destroy the
I
brand.
think
In
they
my
would
opinion.
either go one or two ways with it, right? It's either that or they're going to do another tier system. And they're going to get a little bit more, get a bit more aggressive with the pricing and say, hey, well, to get all the games day and date, it'll be the ultimate package. Now that'll be
Well,
such and such a month.
we're already paying that, and it went up $2. So I see your point. From a greedy corporation, you make perfect sense. But they just raised the price by $2. Now most of us look. I don't champion raising anything. I live on a budget, folks, and I have a great pension. But like I tell you all the time, my pension has a ceiling, which is why Game Pass is the best deal in gaming.
Oh yeah,
and I will continue to support them through that, because they give me games day and date for my $17 a month, $16.99 plus tax.
I mean,
Now
it's even deeper for me though. Excuse me, real quick. It's just like
yeah.
because of Game Pass, I've played more games than I wouldn't have played otherwise, right? So it's just like that inherent value has been like such a key thing for me, and nobody else is going to offer something like that. That doesn't mean like, oh, well, it's broke boy pass, that's why you care about it. No, it's inherent value. Not everybody has $70 to spend. Bro, there's 4 games that just came out just within the last 2 weeks: Helldivers 2, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, Tekken, and Suicide Squad. Who has the money to pay $280 for all these, almost $300 on games in 2 weeks?
Yeah,
if I didn't have Game Pass, I wouldn't be able to do that, right? It moves around your budget a bit, right?
Yeah.
It's just, they got to find it. I hope, I definitely hope that that's not the direction that they go. You're not the first person that's hinted at that's been like, I heard Colton them talking about it too. I was like, I mean,
it just feels like they're going to do something that we're not going to like with Game Pass. To me, I don't know what it is, but it feels like it. But
I hope not. But you're right. Yeah. And you have a good reason. Look, I saw Pong's
so many questions.
God bless you. God bless Pong Soul, my brother. I was watching last night Mav's show, Fun Speculation, and they happened to make mention of the fact that there was a poll that I don't know who did it. I missed it. I was cleaning. Sorry. That's how I devoured.
Somebody in the community. They got good reach though.
Somebody in the community did this poll, and 60+% people were in the camp of, so games don't go to other platforms. Don't put them day and date on Game Pass. Are we barbarians, ladies and gentlemen? Are we? Yeah. Are you freaking? I would never sign off on some crazy shit like that.
It was essentially boom. They were saying that you would give up Game Pass for games to be exclusive to Xbox, and you'll pay full price for them.
As long
as the games stay exclusive.
Yeah, that was the poll.
That literally makes no sense.
Ridiculous.
That is absolutely terrible. If that's what they come out with, and Phil, Sarah, and Matt come out and say this, you literally have no depth in the game now. Like,
might as well just pack it in and quit. Go spend your millions.
But I guess as far as what we need to hear, as far as Xbox gamers, they're going to have to reassure us with something, right? And I think that if we know that these are going to start coming over to other platforms, then I've talked to people. I've talked with a bunch of people. And said to them the same question: what can they do to keep us here if they'd make that move? And it's like, what do we get? Because that's the take. What do we get? What do we get as far as things go? Like, because we're giving, right? They're giving. Well, not we're giving, but they're giving, right. And we are losing out on that in the sense of that extra quality of why we even own this console and being in this ecosystem. Somebody's out there, what do you mean we? And I can hear somebody now, but you know what I mean when I say that. But I feel like there has to be, because the give and take thing, we have to get something. We got to get something, and the only thing I can kind of think is
The multiplayer games, man. That's the easiest way that they could play nice with each other.
Yeah.
Because I mean, to your point, I get where you're coming from. Where it's just like a game like Sea of Thieves, for an example. Oh, would that even be worth it? It's been out for some time. I mean, who knows? It could be. You could put it over there, see what the servers are hitting like. Do you even need to create more servers? Maybe they got server space now, and they're like, maybe we can get a few other extra people in here and see if it's worth it. And then if it's not worth it, maybe that answers the question for them, right? But if they do it and then they get another 2 million people playing Sea of Thieves, not that it's likely to happen,
right.
But obviously people like what they've gotten out of the Ubisoft version. What's the name of the
I was gonna say
now?
Black Flag,
Skull and Bones. There you go.
Yeah,
Which I was in the closed beta for it, and I thought the game was going to bomb. But that game has a base of people somewhere, right? So it's just like there's a lot of things that are possible, and I think that's the one thing that they are kind of weighing, which is I think goes to the point to where, hey, what questions you got to answer these questions. There's a way that they can play nice as they always kind of have in the background, although they both say we want to kill each other and destroy each other and all these great things behind the scenes. They still kind of shake hands with each other. They still go to lunch sometime. Like there's still something else that is happening there. I just that's the easiest way to kind of have that exchange that I think would be acceptable enough, right? Oh, Helldivers 2 on Xbox all of a sudden. Now, would they do that? Probably not, because they don't need to. But I'm also in the camp of I don't think that they're just going to put games on those platforms just out of free will. Like, oh yeah, you want it? Why not? I'm gonna give it to you. You have to give me something in return. Like if Xbox is okay. Bro, I put it and boom, I'll put it to you this way.
Yeah.
If Microsoft is at a point in their establishment where they're like, you know what, PlayStation, I'm just gonna give you games. That is not we want to talk about Microsoft history. That's not within their history. Outside of somebody that's struggling in business like Apple was, for them to break bread with Apple to keep them in business so they're not seen as a monopoly. I don't see them just being like, yeah, Sony, Nintendo, we'll put whatever games you want on whatever, or however you want it. You know what? Don't worry about it. You can buy me lunch next week. You get Gears, buy me lunch, man. Halo, dozen donuts. Great. That's perfect. That's all I needed, man. Pizza party, man, for Forza, that's crazy.
My thinking of it would be that
it's weird.
I know it's been speculation. So the only reason I guess something that makes sense is the whole FTC going on. People are speculating that maybe that's why they're making some of these moves to kind of get them off the back. But I'm like, but they won that case though.
They won. Yeah,
I just don't see that being a thing.
Just being nags at this point.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think, like I said, for us, what they have to do, because I made a tweet earlier, I guess about I don't know, early in the morning. I was at work, and I made a tweet saying how even it's like this is a super major movement, or not movement, but this is a really, really important moment in gaming, right? And I feel like even I have had, and I'm a long time Xbox, gamer. I've been with the brand since its inception. So it feels like, what do I do now that I'm starting to feel like maybe I need to go ahead and get myself a proper PC build and just play my games over there? Right.
What if they answer that question though, Umbra? What if Microsoft creates a device? And again, that goes right back into the topic. Yeah. That is what we need to hear. What is your plan? How are you involving ARM? How are you involving the cloud? What is that next device? Have you figured out a way to get Windows Lite working on your next console? And maybe that's the direction. Maybe they hit a breakthrough, and that's part of the reason all these rumors started. It's like, now Microsoft sees a complete different direction, because that's also been their goal from the very beginning since Bill Gates was involved. How do we get Windows in the living room? Were they finally able to answer that question? But it's on a console ecosystem level instead of I need to update my drivers and do all the other crazy stuff. It's just here's an update, just like you get now. But you got access to Steam, you got access to this, you get access. If you want to go into dev mode, you have access to it. You've already seen some semblance of that in our current consoles, right? So it's like they could be playing with some of that. And if the handheld device, if that's the second device, and they're able to give you that capability, especially with seeing how much Xbox seemingly or Phil was supporting the ROG Ally,
One of my
There
favorites.
has to be something else in play that they.
Yeah,
I
I
hope
don't know.
so.
That's
I
just
mean,
me. Maybe I'm being optimistic.
no, I mean that's the speculation, right? We know about the speculation of it, and shout out to my brother K Asante out there. He said I'm going to PCMR. I'm starting to feel that way, Kay. I feel like maybe, because you know what really actually was the catalyst. And this probably sounds so dumb because I'm the type where if I want something, that commercial, like it's my money, I want it now.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
I'm like that when it comes to things I want. Like I tried to play, I was gifted Helldivers 2 on PC. Now I tried to play it on this dusty PC of mine that I'm using here. Sorry, PC, but you dusty. And this thing wouldn't play it. And I was so annoyed. I'm like, I'm gonna get me a 4070 and I'll be able to play everything. And then I'll update you to a 4090 eventually. That's my thinking, right? So that's what it was. I got like annoyed FOMO, I suppose. And
Yep. That's what it is.
I ended up buying it on PS5 anyway. But like I was so annoyed that I was like, I'm getting me a PC. But then I like I said, I started to kind of look at where we're at with this. And I feel like, and I never took on that whole message of the PC master racers. Well, I get this and get the best of everything. That never really mattered to me because like you mentioned a second ago, having to go through the drivers and all, none of that appeals to me. I have no interest in having to maintain.
I agree. Yeah, that's why I'm not a PC guy because I just
want to. That's held me back. Yeah.
Yep.
But I feel like I'm going to get something that's so advanced that maybe I won't have to deal with that. But that's only, like I said, my mind has kind of shifted lately, and I had never really felt that way before. And so I'm not sure how I'm going to take it. But my thing is they're going to have to make sure to do something that keeps us in this ecosystem. And if they're going to do something with, like you said, with the new OS for the next console, that hopefully they show as well this Thursday from what we're hearing from speculation. I just hope, man, that it's something dramatic. And if it's something that incorporates, the freedom of using Steam and things like that, that could be a major thing that really, I think, tides us over. But they're going to have to give us something to reassure us that the brand is still going to maintain and be strong. We know they're not ending any hardware. They're still going to have hardware come out. But it just feels like at that point, what does it matter when you don't have any specific exclusivity to entice people to come to the platform? You know what I mean? Like Microsoft, I'm sure they're going to make a lot more money still, right? Bringing all the games over in the end. But
I think ultimately, you know what that would do, Umbra? I think that would really damage the Game Pass brand because if you listen, I get the value and I get, first of all, Microsoft, Xbox, I know you're listening. Your messaging sucks when it comes to Game Pass. It does. Nobody knows shit outside of the people that know about it. Like the old thing, you know if you know, that's not good enough. There are people that you talk to that I've talked to, normies, like, oh, this Game Pass. What is that? It's like something new. I'm like, new, dude. You get all these games for this month. What? I didn't even know about that because they don't appeal. Whoever's running the show is not looking past the regular people that play on Xbox. You need to expand and speak to the normies. So if a PlayStation player is like, because again, you have to hope that, let's say for instance in Indiana Jones, it's a 2-year exclusive. Gamers are cheap, man, especially the normies. They buy 2 games a year if you're lucky, maybe 3. They're like, yeah, Indiana Jones, that looks dope. It's coming to PlayStation. Yeah, they said in 2 years. Oh, I'll just wait. And you're not going to get anybody new into your service. You gotta have content. Look, folks, it's the same thing with all of these movie and TV show services. You have Peacock because it has something on there that you like. You have Netflix because of this. You have Paramount because of season 2 of Halo. Why do you buy into these services? Because there's content there that you can't get anywhere else. It's really easy. The bean counters don't get it because they're bean counters. They're smart with the decimals, but they don't understand what brings people to the yard, so to speak.
Yeah, and you always hear the whole, I guess, the unified kumbaya talk with it. Like, well, the games should be everywhere. There should be no exclusives. The only people I really hear saying that are the PC people, really.
Yeah.
Because us on console, we know better. We know there has to be something that makes your platform unique, and exclusives are that thing. It's the thing that gives it its identity. Like, oh yeah, we know we get this here. We know this is the home of my Master Chief, of Marcus Phoenix and crew. You know what I mean? This is the home of Forza. We know those things. So to take that away and not keep those exclusive, not that they're going to do that with those titles, just to say, but to do that to those things would, harm that reputation, that identity of this platform. And that's the problem. And so do you gain or do you lose doing that? I don't know. I feel like they're going to lose out if that's the case. I don't think you win necessarily doing that, right?
When you dilute your brand, you lose.
Yeah.
Sorry. You have to agree with me, but look, again, normally we go 2 hours on this show, folks, and this is a conversation I think we probably can have for another 3 hours, and we may come to a general consensus, but what's going to happen on Thursday ultimately is going to define what the Xbox brand looks like moving forward. I'm not concerned because I'm playing on Xbox. It's the value that I'm concerned with. The only thing that makes me go really have to have like a bit of a conversation with somebody is if they decide that Game Pass is now being brought back to the way the PlayStation does things. And if they do, they're stupid. I'm going to tell you that straight up right now. I think that's just ridiculous. But let me catch up on these super chats, folks. I got to get out of here by 1:30. I got to pick up Mrs. Boom, who's waiting for me. JJ Sane 117 drops in a very generous $5 super chat and says, I was considering getting a PlayStation 5, but after Hellblade 2 coming to PC and other titles rumored from PlayStation, I will get a ROG Ally instead. I mean, I have a ROG. It's phenomenal. I haven't played it in a while, but I think my brother just bought one as well.
I love it.
Yeah, a lot of people love it. I honestly, I just want my own dedicated Xbox handheld. I just really do. I want an OS where when I turn it on, I play. That's it. No drivers, no PC nonsense. Just give me a Switch-like Xbox.
That's the hopeful spread of that rumor that they're talking about with the whole OS thing,
Yeah,
have it straight on the ROG Ally that way.
Yeah, maybe we'll see something Thursday. Who knows? We have here Nerds and Other Legends. Welcome to the program. Ooh. He drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, if all games are multi-platter timed, then the console is irrelevant, meaning Game Pass can't grow. There you go. Consumers would have to decide which console has the best overlap. I fear the eventual shuttering of Game Pass, and that's what I'm talking about. That's a fantastic point.
And he made a good point on that too. It actually goes to a thought I had. Remember, I don't know if you remember way back. We were all wondering where are the ABK games? Why they're not added to Game Pass yet? And I said, well, I think Microsoft wants to try to see if they can get as much money as they can out of Call of Duty. And you don't really do that by putting it into the service, right?
Right.
Sure enough, we still haven't gotten those games on platform on the Game Pass yet.
We haven't.
What if the one of the things they tell us is that it'll have we'll get the games to Game Pass, which would be, I guess, fits the whole day and date thing. So never mind. I guess it's kind of the same thing, but like we would get it 6 months to a year later into Game Pass. I mean, how would that feel to you guys if that was the case? Because it's the same thing essentially as not day and date anymore.
It would be a little weird personally because you get Bethesda games day and date. You bought that publisher. How does this make this any different? I again, different strokes, different folks. I don't know.
I think if it's first party, it needs to be in Game Pass. I don't think there's any excuse for that. This one Call of Duty coming up.
Yeah.
This one Call of Duty, I get. If there's still contractual things that, again, we're not aware of these things. We don't know what the contracts break down. We figured it was over with the last one, but we've never gotten confirmation on that. So if there is more contractual obligations, unfortunately, Microsoft likes to uphold those things. So if that's a reason why it can't come in, then it is what it is. But I don't think, even on a money standpoint, I don't see the point of keeping COD off of Game Pass, because if people are going to stay on PlayStation, then they're going to stay on PlayStation to play COD. Yeah. But if I think
COD would be the one to get 15, people over to Game Pass, personally.
That'd be the Game Pass winner right there for most people. Maybe not this year, but that next COD, gosh darn right. Because after this one, it might become questionable again. I don't know if the next COD is going to even be worth it. I don't even know if the next car is going to be worth it to me after, and I felt like that last year. You know what I'm saying? So it's that constant adjustment. But I don't know. That's again another question that they got to answer.
Yeah, we got a lot of answers to give us this Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Sir X-Men drops a $2 super chat and says Hi-Fi Rush will sell on Nintendo. It's a $30 to $40 game. I mean, that's definitely right about that.
Yeah, it could.
We'll see. Dreadful Sean, who's been a channel member for 13 months, says this. My thinking, all ABK goes third party. Bethesda, ZeniMax are exclusives for 12 months. All other studios are permanent exclusives, day and date for Game Pass Ultimate. I mean, that's if they explain it like that, I think that would be more digestible.
It gives you value. Yeah.
But it still gives you value for sure. Absolutely. Rocket Scientist drops an additional $5 super chat and says Game Pass without day and date is like buying a movie ticket for the next year, for next year. People out here really holding on to exclusivities, shaking my head. Sacrifice value for clout. Yeah, I agree. It's just dumb. Gamer by Choice drops an additional $10 super chat. And he says Xbox fans are so disjointed. How does Xbox make everyone happy? When fans don't know what they want, then listening to us may be a problem. At EX, I want exclusivity at cost of I want exclusivity at cost of day and date Game Pass. Great show.
Goodness.
Yeah, that's
I hear you.
Example.
But
yeah,
nah.
it's yeah.
We'll be like Phil Spencer. We hear you, but we disagree.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's saying it. He
Big
says, for example, I want exclusivity. Okay, so he's saying I want.
Yeah.
Not maybe so much him. I think the way he phrased it is that people are saying they want exclusivity over day and day Game Pass. That's what I actually think. He means. Cartoon 80s villain drops a very generous, or 80s cartoon villain drops a very generous $20 super chat and says PlayStation fans barely buy their own exclusives. Nintendo fans mostly only buy Nintendo exclusives. Xbox sending their exclusives to consoles does not logically make sense and only dilutes their brand. I think the same way. Raiden Blade drops a very generous £5 super chat and says, Can we ask the same question to SIE? SIE, what are you doing? What's your strategy going forward? Are you really paying Disney 50% for all your bundles sold? Are you?
They're not going to talk.
They're not saying
you could cry to the moon, and you could have 10 million views on your video about PlayStation. You needed to answer a question. They will not answer.
No, they're just that's who they are. Michael Mooney drops an additional £5 super chat and says YouTuber Red Gaming Tech says his sources are waiting till Thursday to find out what's happening, because they're not real sources, I guess, if they have to wait. If they were real, it's weird. Listen, don't listen to anyone. Let Microsoft tell us what they tell us, and then we can have 50 podcasts discussing whether it was disastrous or a good idea. We have Raiden Blade drops an additional £5 super chat and says, boom, you're right in a way about Game Pass, but Xbox didn't have content to really speak about, but now that they do, now is the time to show what the strength of Game Pass is. I absolutely agree. I think that they're not giving these games a chance to breathe and bring people into the ecosystem. I think this is a rush to judgment. That's just my take. And lastly, 3-Bit, great friend of the program, drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I wish I could jump into the conversation, but work is working. Great conversation, though, brothers. And well, thank you so much. We appreciate it. You're welcome anytime you want to jump in. But listen, let's get everyone out of here. Steel Rain, let's sell your brand, brother. Saturday, you do something incredibly special with Pong Soul, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, called Living Split Screen. And you have some lofty goals for sub counts this year, as I personally think you deserve it, because, well, it's a great 3, 4, sometimes even 5-hour show. Talk about it, brother. Where can people subscribe? And more importantly, follow you on social media?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully y'all had great time sitting in here. Hopefully helped your work day out, if anything. And yeah, you can find me, Steel Rain. That's Steel Rain I. The T is a 7 everywhere. Google's probably the easiest place to get that information. And to start off with, you can always find me right here on the Xbox Factor podcast every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Central for myself. Where we bleed green here, baby. We keep it about the Xbox conversation. We'll see how these things move forward as we get to the end of the week. I think we're going to continue to have some interesting conversations. And that leads into Saturday, where Living Split Screen goes live with my brother from another, Pong Soul, the one and only uncanny gentleman himself. But yeah, we're a non-console centric platform. We talk about everything going on with the gaming stratosphere. And it's the home of the RTS view, right? We pull ourselves out of the world, look at the darker crevices of the map, and pull our resources together so we can not only build up our own foundation, but also the foundation to reach those 3 billion gamers, potential gamers out there. And then this Sunday, I'm going to be starting a show with another brother, a 3-bit, who is a dev in the industry. He was in chat. Shout out to the homie 3-bit. Yeah, man, it's gonna be another 2-man show. We're gonna be working on getting interviews and bringing people on and just chopping it up. And it's super dope for me because getting the perspective of somebody who's actually working in that industry is completely different than us just kind of like bantering back and forth. It's kind of like you're getting that peek behind the curtain. So hopefully I'll figure out some ways to ask him some interesting questions. I know me and him we've had our sweaty Halo days, right? So I think that'll be really interesting to bring to the table. But nonetheless, definitely check us out on that. It's going to be Pixelated Echoes. That's going to go live 2 p.m. Central. Appreciate that. But yeah, it's going to go live 2 p.m. Central on Sunday for those who want to check that out. But other than that, yeah, big ups to everybody in chat. Hopefully you have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you for being here. And make sure you hit that like button on your way out. And I appreciate you, Boom, and Umbra for the conversation. Much love.
Thank you, brother. Super appreciate that. And of course, Infinite Umbra, sell your brand. You have a show with Danny on Thursdays called The Fix. It's a gaming show for sure, but you talk about anime, you talk about movies, and quite frankly, after that Deadpool 3 trailer, well, I would imagine there's a conversation coming this Thursday. Brother, sell the brand. Where can people subscribe? And more importantly, reach out to you on social media.
Now the most viewed movie trailer of all time, by the way, Deadpool.
There you go.
He's going to save the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, it's actually the first thing that actually made me want to go back to the movies in years. So yeah, but yeah, of course, chat family, thank you all for holding us down. I felt like doing a wrestling promo. I was like, chat family, acknowledge me. But yeah, you all come by on The Fix this Thursday. You know what we'll be covering. It goes without saying.
Yep.
We got this major thing happening Thursday that we're going to react to and give our thoughts to, and cry our tears, whatever it may be. We'll see what happens, but that will be the main topic of discussion very clearly this week. We have Shane Bailey, who is a former dev with Ubisoft and Microsoft, coming through, and I'm trying to get one other person, if they check their DMs. He was just here not long ago. Anyway, so I'm trying to see if I can get this person, and if not, I will move on to another gentleman. But anyway, come through Thursday nights, 8 o'clock Eastern, and we would appreciate you guys coming through and showing us some love. And of course, Fridays, the Infinite podcast, no longer Xbox Infinite, but this was before this whole situation, so don't nobody get antsy. But yeah, that's at 8 o'clock Eastern as well. So, 7 o'clock Eastern actually for now, for the Xbox, for the Infinite podcast rather. And yeah, absolutely great to be here with you two fellas as well. Steel, thank you for holding it down today, really, because I am super tired. If you
that's all right, brother. You work midnight, so we understand. But thank you so much for being here, brother. Super appreciate it.
Oh, somebody said I was being cryptic.
No. He works midnights, folks. He's exhausted
and cryptically tired. That's what it is, bold.
I love it. But
yeah. Stuff. But no, thank you, Boom, of course, too, for holding it down, brother, and having me on the show.
No, thank you for being a part of it. We definitely wouldn't. The show wouldn't be the same without both of you guys. Super appreciate that. Last super chat that comes in, Raiden Blade drops £2 super chat and says, "That's my point. SIE doesn't talk. Why should Xbox?" Because that's their brand. That's who they are. That's who that's who they've been. And I'd love to elaborate more. Good gentlemen, I got to get out of here. It is almost 1:30. But again, I want to say a big thank you to all of the super chats that have come in. Really, thank you so much for the outstanding support, not only through super chats, but of course through channel membership support. They allow us to do the big giveaways, and we have a lot. We're doing a lot of big giveaways this year towards the end of the year. We're going to do something in June. I'm just not sure exactly what that is. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day, folks, it's important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.